Long ago, in the kingdom of Eldoria, there was a powerful ruler named King Dravon. He was feared and respected, for he had ruled the land for over 100 years without aging a single day. The people whispered stories of his immortality, but no one knew the truth. Each year, King Dravon hosted a grand feast in his castle. He invited 100 citizens, noblemen, merchants, farmers, and even beggars to dine with him. It was considered the highest honor, and people eagerly awaited the invitations. The castle doors would open, the guests would enter, and music and laughter would fill the air. But there was one terrible mystery: no one who attended the feast ever returned. At first, the people thought the king rewarded the guests with gold and land, sending them to live in distant lands. Others believed the guests had been taken to serve in the royal palace forever. But as the years passed, and no one ever saw them again, fear began to grow in the hearts of the people. Among them was a young servant named Tobias. He worked in the castle, sweeping floors and carrying food to the kitchen. Unlike others, Tobias was not blinded by the king's wealth and power. He found it strange that every year, new guests entered the castle but never came out. He knew the truth had to be discovered. On the night of the next feast, Tobias hid behind a large curtain in the grand dining hall. He watched as the guests ate and drank merrily, unaware of the danger ahead. The king sat at the head of the table, smiling, his golden crown gleaming under the candlelight. As the night wore on, the guests began to feel dizzy. Their laughter turned to weak murmurs, and one by one they collapsed onto the floor. Tobias covered his mouth in horror. The food had been poisoned. From the shadows, masked figures in dark robes entered the hall. They carried the unconscious guests through a hidden door behind the throne. Tobias followed silently, his heart pounding in his chest. The passage led down to a cold, dark dungeon. Tobias peeked through a crack in the wall and gasped at what he saw. The guests lay on stone slabs, surrounded by glowing symbols. In the center of the room stood King Dravon. His eyes burned like fire as the masked figures chanted strange words. Then, something terrible happened. A swirling mist rose from the guests' bodies, flowing into the king. Their bodies shriveled, turning into empty husks, while Dravon stood taller, younger, stronger. Tobias realized the awful truth: King Dravon was stealing the life force of his people to remain immortal. Every year, he fed upon the souls of 100 men and women, keeping his youth at the cost of their lives. Tobias knew he had to escape and warn the kingdom, but as he turned to run, he felt a cold hand grip his shoulder. A masked figure had spotted him. He struggled, breaking free and sprinting up the stairs. Behind him, the king's voice rang out in fury. "Seize him!" Guards chased him through the dark halls, but Tobias was swift. He found a small window and leaped through it, landing hard on the ground outside. Ignoring the pain, he ran through the night until he reached the village. Gasping for breath, he gathered the people and told them everything he had seen. Horror spread through the crowd. The king's terrible secret was revealed at last. The people, enraged and grieving for their lost loved ones, stormed the castle at dawn, armed with torches and weapons. King Dravon's magic was powerful, but he was outnumbered. The people fought bravely, tearing through the palace guards. Tobias led the charge, finding the king in his throne room. The once mighty ruler now looked weak without his yearly feast. His stolen youth had begun to fade. With one final blow, the people ended Dravon's reign. His body crumbled to dust, his magic finally broken. The kingdom was free at last. From that day forward, Tobias was hailed as a hero. The people built a new kingdom, ruled by justice and kindness, and never again did they allow greed and dark magic to steal their lives. The legend of the king's feast was told for generations, a warning to all who sought power at the cost of others. And so, Eldoria flourished, forever free from the shadow of King Dravon. But the story did not end there. Though King Dravon was gone, the land bore deep scars of his dark magic. The castle remained, its halls filled with whispers of the past. The people, though relieved, feared that traces of the king's sorcery might still linger. And they were right. For in the depths of the abandoned dungeon, something stirred. A faint glow pulsed beneath the cracked stone slabs where the victims had lain. It was a remnant of the king's stolen power, still bound to the land, waiting for a new master. Tobias, now a trusted leader, spent his days helping rebuild the kingdom. But he could not shake the feeling that the king's evil was not entirely gone. One evening, as he walked near the castle ruins, he heard a strange humming sound. Following it, he found a secret door he had never seen before. It led him into the depths of the dungeon once more. There, he saw something chilling a book, an ancient tome bound in black leather, pulsating with dark energy. It lay upon an altar, untouched but alive. Tobias knew that this was the source of the king's dark magic. He wanted to destroy it, but the book whispered to him. "Power," it hissed. "Take it, and you will never fear death." Tobias stepped back, his heart pounding. He could feel the magic trying to lure him in, just as it had once tempted Dravon. But he was stronger. He grabbed the book, took it outside, and cast it into the fire. As the flames consumed it, a terrible scream echoed across the land, and the castle walls trembled. The darkness was finally gone. The people of Eldoria rejoiced, knowing that their kingdom was truly free. And Tobias, though tempted by power, had proven himself not only a hero, but a man of wisdom and strength. Thus, Eldoria flourished for generations, its people never forgetting the lesson of King Dravon's greed. The tale of Tobias and the king's feast lived on, a legend that warned against the dangers of dark magic and the price of eternal life.